because I don't have my lights set up. I don't have my mic set up. We're gonna do it.
Yep.
We'll get it done. All right, we live? You might be. Yeah, we're live on YouTube. All right. It's yours truly, Bruce Hill, New Skills, New You. I've got some really great guests with me right now. So good friends of mine. The Castles. Elena Castle is a speaker experience expert and her spouse of the Castle firm. So what originally was going to happen, she was kind enough to have me a guest on her podcast. Go check it out. And I was like, hey, let's do some better framework coaching live in your pivot. And that was going to be this episode. But depending on when you're watching this, Thanksgiving is like 48 hours from now. And they've got some surprise guests. She's got some things moving around. So Jason's coming on. Shout out to supportive spouses, y'all. He's going to hold it down. So I don't know what we're going to talk about. We might talk about her business. He knows that one inside and out. We might talk about his business. We might talk about both. And that's why I love being the boss. So I can do what I want.
Yay.
So let's start off with your 30-second intro. Who you are, what you do, who you do it for. Lena and then Jason. Ladies first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lena Castle. I'm the founder of the Professional Speakers Concierge Service, and we provide on-site team logistics for professional speakers. So anything that touches the speaker experience, that is our team handling fires and chaos and all the fun things you don't want to. So really excited to be here, Bruce. Thank you so much for the invitation. And Jason, my loving husband, thank you so much for just stepping in for me as I prepare for Thanksgiving and all the crazy changes. But I really appreciate you because what I will say is my husband knows my business in and out. And I'm just really happy to hear and actually watch this live while I move around too. So yeah,
How about for you need to, but stay as long as you want to.
yeah.
Awesome. Jason.
Yeah, Jason Castle, first and foremost, husband to this amazing woman, father of three amazing kids. In my spare time, when not focused on trying to be the best husband I can and the best dad I'm able to be, I service clients as a lawyer. Own my own law practice here in New Jersey, while also practicing simultaneously in the great state of Texas. Go Cowboys! You might lose some viewership because of that. It's all right.
It is what it is.
And my job, candidly, is to serve people who aren't able to serve themselves, and to be the biggest, baddest champion for my wife and her business, and what it is that she does to elevate people who are trying to get a really important message out to individuals who need to hear it. And those people need support, in untold measure behind the scenes so that they are just unbridled in their vision and their purpose and being able to get their message out. So I'm privileged and honored to be here. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I hope I know my wife's business as well as she says I do. Um, but if this were in reverse, I know I could say the same about her. So Bruce, here for whatever you need.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for this intro. So my name is Bruce Hill. I make sales simple for entrepreneurs for professional service businesses like yours. And it's not AI, it's not expensive software, it's not complicated methodologies. It's very simply asking better questions, which I think you can appreciate the value of a good question. So the framework is outlined in our book, Better Questions, Better Clients. Remind me to get y'all a copy. And it's based on four simple quadrants: people, process, promise, and pricing. No particular order. It just happens to be the way I wrote it. So when we start a business, I think the biggest question is missed, or maybe not even asked. And if it is asked, not answered clearly, is who can we serve with excellence? So I know there was a pivot. It was almost 100% speakers, but now it's moved to event planners. So when we ask the question, who can we serve with excellence? Talk about that evolution and why you made that pivot.
Well, so, watching the evolution of PSCS with my wife, her founding it before we even met, growing it to being a reputable business, and then really just watching the hockey stick degree of respect and credibility that it has had since we've been together, and my wife has really, as you said, pivoted. One of the reasons that the pivot came was because, excuse me, candidly, the speaker market in and of itself, all speakers need her, but all speakers couldn't necessarily um, afford her when they needed her, right? And when you look at what Lena's purpose is and what her passion is, it's to really service as many people as she possibly could who need her service, because she's really trying to get their message and their mission out there. But by pivoting to more a situation where it's event planning, she could make herself more available, and that service could be made more widely available to speakers who might be being brought onto a stage, but they didn't necessarily have the budget to hire her themselves, but the venue or the host would have the budget to hire her services so that she could elevate and support them in their purpose and in getting their message out there. So, um, her pivot really was an unselfish one, right? Because of course she could continue to cater to speakers who were, demanding 75,000, a quarter million, half a million, upwards per engagement. But she really understood that those speakers could pay for all sorts of services that they might have needed. They might have to piecemeal things together to get the team that she was offering, but they could afford to do so. But the folks who were most passionate about what it was that they were doing, the ones who were trying to get that message out, they didn't necessarily have the budget at the inception, but event planners did. Event
Clever.
planners knew that they wanted to create an environment, an experience for their audience. So by focusing and shifting um, really her business towards that direction, it really gave her a bit more, not only credibility to be able to say, I can move how I want to move, right? She's not a business man, she's a business man, right? Um, it allowed her to be able to say, okay, this is the venue I want to support because the larger message is catering to a group that needs to hear these individual speakers that I'd like to individually serve, but it's still a business. So how can I best support them while also supporting their message and getting it out to the people that needed to hear it most? So that was really the genesis of the pivot.
So I think there's a whole masterclass there, and that's why I love 2026. We're doing a 6 week intensive where we can really dive into this. Shout out to my friend Brittany Boss Up. We were working on some of her messaging and say, who can you serve with excellence? And so she serves young girls, middle school and high school, but the messaging wasn't connecting and it wasn't converting, more important. So what am I missing here? She's really clear, and we'll talk about the promise, we'll talk about the process. When we got to the pricing, I realized it's not the girls that are paying her. It's the university, it's the high school, it's the middle school, it's the principal, it's the superintendent. And so I'm saying this to folks who really care about what they do and they want to serve. If the people you want to serve are having difficulty paying you, or you find yourself discounting, then let's shift who's paying. Just like that shift to the event planners. Now she actually supports more speakers, I imagine, without compromising the business. I want to pause for 2 seconds. You said it needs to be public.
Just making sure the audience can be public. I have someone that's in the chat. Just can you just make sure it's public? Just making sure.
I don't know if there's a way to make it
No
private, so it
worries.
should be good.
Okay, cool.
Let me know.
Making
Tell
sure
them,
that all the people get a chance. Yeah,
yeah,
that's fine.
absolutely.
Yep.
And I'll clip this up and share it some more so we can run it back. Tell them to leave a comment in on the live and see if that works. I just did. It doesn't look like I had an issue. But that's one of the things I think is valuable. What you do is almost anybody could do what you do, but then there's a small segment that could be really good at it. And then I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be speaking. I'm supposed to be delivering messages. I'm supposed to be transforming lives. And that's something a lot of um, self-employed people get stuck on, where they try and do it all themselves. So, what was a big obstacle you have when you talk to these event planners or even these higher level speakers and saying, "Oh, I know how to do that," or "I have someone to do that"? What kind of resistance were you all getting? Jason, can you fill in on that one?
I'm gonna be honest here. The biggest resistance that Lena has always encountered has been herself, right? And when I say that, what I mean is, it's never been about the money, right? It's always been about the purpose. And we would sit down and we'd have conversations, and it was she always wanted to support the individual and the message. Um, Sometimes to the point that she would even give consideration in reducing the cost of her services just so that she could support the message, right? Because
Mm,
she believed in the speaker that much. So, we would have conversations. Look, she's the boss, but I got to be the CFO, right? So it's like, how is it that we are able to justify you supporting this individual at this cost
mm,
for this message, for their mission, if it's cost prohibitive to do so? And, where I get to be the yin to her yang is talking about the profitability aspect because it's still a business. But where I will disagree with you, there's something you said earlier, Bruce, that I disagree with. Everybody cannot do what she does, right?
mm.
Everyone might be able to market the service, but they cannot deliver the service with the passion that she has because she truly believes it's her purpose, right? So where others are looking at it from the profitability aspect of, um, you know, how can I support an individual utilizing the minimum number of resources I have to invest in from an operational standpoint, but delivering the service that they're expecting? How do we balance that equation? Lena she's leaving it all on the field, right? She is literally, because I'm a Cowboys fan, she's like, how do we clip the wings of these Eagles right now? Right? How do we do it, right? Within under the salary cap. And so a lot of many people cannot do what it is that she does because she really has held so constant and has been so focused and dedicated on the principle of delivering exceptional customer service, right? Regardless of the cost, that in our partnership, I'm looking at how can she be the best version of herself for her clients, but still do it without it generating a loss. Um, and because she's so passionate about it, she really embodies a principle that my grandfather said to me. It was one of the last messages that he said to me before he passed away. Don't chase money, let money chase you. So, because she is so good at what she does, and because she delivers this exceptional experience, money becomes a byproduct of the service that she's delivering. So, the yin and the yang of it is she is going to look at a $5,000 engagement the same way that she looks at a $50,000 engagement. The same amount of time and attention that goes into delivering excellence within her expertise for a $5,000 client, it's going to be at the same level of a $50,000 client or a $100,000 client because she doesn't distinguish between the dollars and cents. That's where I come in, right? It's okay, well, let's keep this within the budget, but she will push the boundaries of the budget to ensure that the experience is equal and the same. And I'm mesmerized sometimes by the way that she can deliver a $50,000 or $100,000 experience to a $5,000 client while not ever sacrificing the experience that is given to that $50,000 or that $100,000 client. So really, her greatest disadvantage is herself when she is trying to deliver above the value that she is demanding, but she doesn't distinguish between those clients, right? If you come to her with a budget of $5,000 and you say, this is the venue and this is what I'm doing and this is the experience I want to deliver and this is the mission and this is my message, she will ensure that you have the opportunity to do that without any compromise, the same way that she would for a client that's paying more, right? So it's really the scope of the venue and the scope of the audience and the scope of the circumstances that is dictating what her fee is. It's not the individual. And again, that's where I think that what my wife does is fundamentally different than what someone else does because she's looking at it as what is purpose driven, whereas someone else is looking at it as what is profit driven. And I get to be the bad guy to be counting the dollars and cents while she has an opportunity to very honestly and genuinely put forth her very best work and never have to worry about what the client is paying.
That's well said. There's a couple things, a couple questions that you asked. So we talk about the 4P framework is people, process, promise, and pricing. And one of the questions is how do we price this so it makes sense to the client and it makes sense for the business? And you really touched on a lot of things I would have asked you, BB Twin. Where where's the line where you just say no? Hey, we can't help you.
Yeah, look, here's some, I'm not gonna say it's proprietary, but I'm gonna say, it comes down to the principle of you get one chance to make a first impression, right? Um, Lena knows after the first interaction, at least as we have discussed it, whether or not she wants to support an individual, right? Um, how that person shows up in that first call and that first interaction with her. And that leaves a lasting impression, right? It leaves that impression as to whether or not this person is really down for their own cause and their mission is to get a message out that is to help, to inspire, to motivate, really to engender, some feeling of things can be better than versus individuals who are simply out there to make a buck. And there have been a number of times that when we're talking about, when you're talking about the different quadrants, someone will come to her with, this is my price and this is my process, right?
Mhm.
But she can't help them because they lack purpose, right?
Mm.
They they're it's they're just trying to make a quick buck. And the integrity with which she leads her business and you know she's unwavering in her commitment to support people who want to support people, if that makes sense, right?
So it's
So
not always about the revenue, then it's about the alignment. So I understand that correctly.
it is about the alignment first and foremost, but again, she's not chasing money. Money is chasing her, right? So it becomes very, very easy to be able to say no when you're not chasing the dollar, right?
Mm.
When you're chasing the purpose, when you're chasing the mission, when you're chasing the message, when you're chasing the person who is the conduit for a message of positivity rather than a message of negativity, it becomes very easy. Now you draw the line in the sand. Is this person's purpose, their message, their mission going to help individuals, or is this person's message and mission only to profit for themselves? Yes and no becomes very, very easy at that point. So you can easily say no, you know, good luck on your future endeavors, but I don't think I'm the right fit for you.
What advice do you have for someone maybe their team is trying to hit quota, maybe it's the individual or the small business, it's got some bills to pay. And so they have an opportunity in front of them and it's an okay fit, right? Maybe 77%. What advice do you have to them? Encourage them to make the decision from here versus their wallet.
So I gotta point you in the direction of what my wife has done when it comes to sustaining her business versus growing her business, right? So we had a conversation very early on about generating revenue, and you have sustainable revenue, right? And you have growth revenue. Sustainable revenue are the things that you do on a regular basis. I mean, she has one or two weekly calls that she does where there are people who are subscribing, in essence, to hear what it is that she has to say, to come into an environment where she is curated, a group of individuals who are professionals in their respective markets, and they are delivering guidance, expertise, really just knowledge, for a value or that's more valuable than what the individuals may be subscribing for, right? That's sustainable revenue, right? So she's going to hit her weekly, her monthly, her quarterly goals through that sustainable revenue because that is what's driving the business. That's what's keeping the lights on. That's what's keeping the bills paid, so on and so forth. But her growth business comes from the individuals who are essentially saying, we want to hire you for this particular event, for this particular opportunity that we have. So the guidance I would offer looking at her model is if you can look at your business and you can articulate what is your growth revenue versus what is your sustainability revenue. What what do you need to make every single month, every single quarter? And then um, how can you look at your business in such a way to say, I can deliver these needs on a regular basis in a way that people will subscribe to it, they'll come back for it. I can grow upon last week's message and deliver something new because that is going to be your daily, right, sustainable revenue. But from a growth revenue standpoint, it is because I now have this taken care of, because the quotas are are taken care of, how can I grow that business, right? So that now the growth is actually going to increase the sustainability revenue. Because if I grow from if my sustainability revenue is $5,000 a week, right? But then my growth revenue puts me into a different stratosphere where now not only do I have the individuals that are sustaining me at $5,000 a week, I can now do another product offering of sustainability that is another platform or another tier. I've got the $5,000 revenue that's coming in from the individuals that can afford that. But then now I've got the $25,000 revenue for individuals who might want a slightly more premium service. They might want a little bit more of my time, right? And that's every time you hit a growth metric, it should increase your sustainability metric, right? So it's, as the Japanese say, it's kaizen, it's continuous improvement, right? You're always progressing, you're never regressing. And,
Yeah.
but it also allows you to stay true to your core base that helped you build, right? Lena is
So
never,
this is where we move from pricing to process, and this is my favorite one because this is where I help businesses grow. So this is where you get to do the shameless plug. Somebody said, "Man, this sounds good." They're helping me manage the speakers for my event. They're handling details. They're delivering excellence. They're mission driven. How do they work with you? How do we find you?
well, professional speakers concierge service. Look, I got the mug here. Um, there was, Lena has her own website, prospeakersservice.com.
Yep.
And that's, you can go there and um, you can connect with her and connect with her team and so on and so forth. You can, um, I'll say this, she'll probably kill me for saying this, but when we first started dating, in order for me to get on her calendar, I went to prospeakerservice.com to schedule an appointment, right? To make sure I could get on the calendar.
And
But
shooters shoot.
all right, shoot your shot, right? You got to do it. So that's one way. Another way is really to show up at these events, right? Because when she's there, she's visible. She has a team. She's got a table. She's got individuals who are set up there. Because she always wants to get that, that point-to-point connection. because at these events are always those who are aspiring to have these types of events, right? But I mean, first and foremost, if you're in the four corners of the globe and you just want to connect with Lena or Professional Speakers Concierge Service, definitely go to the website, but get there sooner rather than later because when the calendar is full, she's not creating additional spaces. I mean, she only has a limited amount of time and a limited amount of attention. And over and above my objection, she really wants to meet with every individual that's on her calendar. She doesn't want to delegate that to someone else to do. She feels that that first experience with that potential client is the most important. That's where she has her yes or her no moment, right? To answer your earlier question, it makes it easy to say yes or no, and then that's how she allocates her time. So,
Okay.
prospeakerservice.com.
ProSpeakerService.com. Speakers or speaker?
No plural, just speaker.
Okay. I got to double check. All right, beautiful. So who should be reaching out? Let's go back to who can serve with excellence. Somebody's looking in the mirror. I was like, is this for me? Is that the event coordinator, the conference director, the meeting planner? Maybe all the above. Who give me 4 or 5 that should be reaching out and getting a head start on 26 and even 2027.
Yeah, so I don't think it's 4 or 5. I think it's three.
Okay.
It's either the individual themselves who needs the service, the speaker,
Okay.
right? There, as Lena, I think she should definitely, put copyright on this. The number two you is what she calls it, their right hand, the individual who might be coordinating all these events for them, right? That might be their personal assistant, that might be their professional assistant, so on and so forth. But the person who is really, one deviation away from the individual who needs the service. And then the third person would be, whoever that event coordinator is, whoever that event planner is, because that's the person who has a 30,000-foot view as to what the operational aspect of the event looks like. And of course, a derivative of them would be their number two them, right? Their number two you. But in essence, the individual speaker who needs to support the person that's running it for them, their number two them, or the event planner themselves, who is essentially in charge of planning the event. Where things get a little complicated is when you have someone who may be a subset of a subset of a subset of a decision maker who sees the service, has a value for the service, understands the value of it, but is not translating or communicating that value to the decision maker, right? And then what has happened in the past is you're working with a person who doesn't have the authority to make decisions.
Oh, beautiful. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
That's where the promise comes in. So there's pricing, process, people, and promise. And again, I say them in a different order every time. That's on purpose because all of them matter, right? It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're missing an ingredient, you're missing an important part of your sandwich.
Oh, listen, Lena
What's
can
up?
tell you, you and I are simpatico on that. I use that as an example in every training I do. It's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you don't have the peanut butter, but you got the jelly and the bread,
Right.
right? So, sure, please ask your question.
Nice. So a lot of sales trainers will try and teach you to find the pain, right? Find the problem. What I've discovered, and that's useful advice for most scenarios. What I've discovered is the people that I enjoy working with the most and I can help the most aren't going from -1 to 0, aren't going from 0 to 1. They're trying to go from 10 to 20. And they're like, no, we're doing a great job. We just want to do an amazing job. We want to do an excellent job. And so I realized it was people, process, pricing problem. But I realized the promise is much more important because some people want to keep their problems. Not let them keep their problems. Let them keep them. But there's a group of people, these dream clients, these success stories, the 5-star reviews, or referral partners that have a promise. And that promise is the outcome, the result, or the transformation you provide. So someone who's never heard of you before, what's that promise? What's that transformation? So that you all provide, that pro speaker service.
Um, Yeah, I thank you for the question because I think it's an important one. The promise is that there's always going to be an unveiling of something valuable that you didn't even consider as being valuable,
Hmm.
right? You pick up the phone and you call professional speaker concierge service because you know you have a need, right? And you've defined that need in your own mind. Oh, I've got this event, I need this kind of support, so on and so forth. What's beautiful about the process that Lena has curated is that it's more about listening versus telling, right?
Mm.
Because when you show up, you know you have a need and
Okay.
you've narrowly defined your need as this is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. What Lena does is she listens and she says, okay, here's the promise. I'm going to look at your process and I'm going to evaluate your process and I'm going to find the blind spots in it and say, well, have you thought about this? I
Okay.
know that you want to, and this is the best example. I know that you want to generate $500,000 of revenue at this event, pitching from the stage. But is your pitch from the stage the only revenue avenue that you've created? Do you have a back of the room team so that when people have questions about your process, about your product, when they can't ask you directly, is there someone available to answer those questions in real time, in the moment? So the promise is she's going to turn over every single stone on that particular client's process to make sure they're maximizing value and meeting their goals versus simply accepting their representation of what they think their problem is that needs to be solved and only meeting that need. And again, that's what distinguishes my wife from someone who's doing it without purpose,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
she's not there to just solve the problems that you think you have. She's there to help you solve the problems that you think you have, identify issues and areas of opportunity that you haven't even uncovered yet, and then give you really a comprehensive solution so that when you come back and you look, when all the chips are counted and all the dollars and cents are tabulated, the promise is that you are going to be either as profitable as you thought you could be when you had this pipe dream, but you had no plan, or more profitable than you ever thought you could be simply because you didn't finalize or perfect the process to get there. So it's not about delivering more than it's about delivering value and showing her clients that there is the possibility of perfecting their process, improving their product, streamlining their pricing, and that becomes her promise.
Oh, let's go, Jerry. Go. So I think conceptually that makes a lot of sense. I want to challenge you though. When we're going back to that subset of that key decision maker. So they have to articulate this to the person that's going to say, "Oh, wait, I need to talk to Elena's her team." What's one or two sentences? You say, "Hey, just say this to your boss, to the membership committee." What's one or two sentences when we talk about that promise?
Um, so I'll give you Lena's sentence and I'll give you my sentence.
Okay, two for
Uh,
one. Got it.
right. And every so often, my wife will uh, adapt my sentence into a second sentence, but her sentence is, tell me a story. Because without your story, I can't I can't even promise you anything. So tell me a story. Tell me, and the spider web of that is, who are you? What are you delivering? Why is this important? How do you view it? Right? So tell me a story. Um, my sentence is, um, and I say this to her all the time, let them know that excuse me, you're not the most expensive, but you're not cheap, right? And that really just kind of cuts through the mustard of we can we can eliminate the individuals who are trying to negotiate, right, on value
Okay.
because I'm not the most expensive, but I'm not cheap, lets you know that my price is what my price is. I'm not looking at you. The company isn't looking at you trying to figure out the right price for you. The price is what the price is.
Mhm.
Not the most expensive, but we're not cheap. But when you talk about telling a story, tell me your story. Tell me what is it that you're trying to change? Where's the movement? What are you trying to disrupt? What's the message? Who are you trying to help? And if that person cannot articulate their own story, right? It is instantly intimidating to them, but it also becomes it's like a moth to a flame. Well, what do you wait? I need a story? Wait, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean I need a story? So it really is one of those things that when she says, "Tell me your story," and then they get to, well, how much does it cost? Well, listen, I'm not the most expensive, but I'm not cheap. Those two things marry together, and people um, start to either qualify or disqualify themselves based on their own subsequent answers.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lena. What do you want to add to that?
Um, just that the value that we add is taking off the plate of whoever thought they were supporting the speaker and what their experience should look like. They can focus on other tasks. Our goal
Mhm.
is um, allowing us to step in, not just, oh, let me just make sure the speaker gets to the stage, but making sure that their experience is elevated. What is the surprise and delight? We do the room drops at the hotel for their gifts that are hand selected. We are making sure that the green room experience before they go on stage, what are they smelling, touching, tasting? All of the things and knowing their allergies. So making sure that we're thinking about the risks that could potentially make a brand look bad, that we eliminate those. So even if we're not
Mm.
branded in PSCS and we're branded in Meta, or if it's South by Southwest, or if it's whatever organization, we're stepping in to be really that liaison and that extension of that company, the company or organization that's hosting the event. So whatever the speaker is experiencing, it's really telling the story of that company and brand that's bringing them in to come and speak, and making sure that that is a good experience that they're going to have. Um, because the opposite could be true. They could have a horrible experience and the speaker circuit is very small, and they talk amongst each other of, yeah, that stage, that was horrible. They didn't do this, they didn't show up this. I was at the airport, there was no driver. There's so many stories that happen behind the scenes, and the same is true the opposite, where the speaker thought that they nailed it and they're like, we're not bringing that person back, but yet we still paid them, we still said thank you so much for coming. And so there's various gaps that people on either side may not even understand what's happening in regards to the relationship of, you sign this contract, you come and speak and add value and teach my audience, but also understanding that that speaker who is coming to give of their energy and excite your audience, do all these things, that there should be a level of elevated experience that they should have coming in to do that for you, your company or organization. So,
Bruce, I just want to dovetail
Wow.
something to what my wife just said. And
Let me hold that thought. Um, please keep it. This is where I believe we can have a breakthrough where I can add some value to both your businesses. And this is something I see over and over again. So the question was, what's one or two sentences I could take to my key decision maker to help communicate the promise? Both of you articulate very clearly the value add, and I really hope that someone's seeing this like this is what I've been looking for. Hope you get new clients from this conversation. Or maybe someone considering it. This is that action moment. The challenge I see over and over again is being able to put it concisely. So, hey, Bruce, you talked to those folks over at Pro Speaker Service? Yeah. What'd they say? Oh, they said they're not the most expensive, but they're not the cheapest. What does that mean? Like, are they bringing in my tables and chairs? Are they doing AV? That's not communicating the promise. And so then, Elena, you talked about the impact it has on the speaker's experience. I thought that was really powerful, but I'm not going to remember all that. So before we move forward, I want to come back to that same question.
Yep.
If I'm not, because this could be a tweet, it could be a LinkedIn post, it could be me telling a friend like, "Oh, I just saw this podcast interview on New Skills, New You, and there's this really cool business." Someone's going to ask them, "What do they do?" The answer to that question is how we're going to increase our referrals, we're going to increase our conversions. So from the top, 1, 2 sentences, maybe three. Why are we working with Pro Speaker Services?
So my company is Professional Speakers Concierge Service.
Thank you.
And we're handling the speaker logistics so that you can host events that impress, convert, and deliver results without chaos. And so that's really it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's it. You had said you had asked a question, and Lena had given some context, and it was about making sure that it's on brand. But
Mm,
I don't want to overlook the fact that if the company is hired by an organization that's planning an event, it's going to be on brand, and she's going to deliver the exceptional experience for the speakers. But
I love
she
that.
also, that's the macro. When an individual speaker hires her for the same support, she will, if there is no green room, that hotel room before they even get there will be adapted to create an experience that eliminates chaos so that when they get there, I mean, if you look at her pre-event questionnaire, I mean, she's got 75 questions that she is literally going through to make sure that she understands preferences, she understands mission, she understands, she touched upon it, allergies. She's digging deep to get rid of chaos, right?
Yep.
And to my chagrin, she'll do an event where she's supporting 50 speakers and will take the same amount of time with each one of those speakers to have them
Wow.
fill in and answer these questions so that she can coordinate logistically to eliminate chaos, whether it's one speaker who is contracting her individually or a venue that's contracting her white label to create that experience for all their speakers. So I don't want her to undersell what it is that she does. The experience, whether you're an individual or an institution, for that speaker remains the same, and that is anything but chaotic.
That's good. I think we're gonna wrap up right there. So that's uh, here's a round of applause for both of you all. The framework is so simple. We talk about people, okay? We've got our internal team, we've got our ideal clients. That's simple, but simple isn't always easy. And we talk about the promise. What's the transformation we're gonna provide? That should be simple, but that's the one people get stuck on. You all articulated very well. I'm very impressed. We talk about a process, and that's my favorite part. That's the how. Because it all sounds good, but how do we deliver? So the fact you've got 70 plus questions, that's process. That's good process. And then the pricing. I think that's another area. One thing I'll leave you all with: when I was in SaaS, there was a discount pool, and it was the amount of money we could give away and still be profitable for that month or quarter. And what was fascinating is you could use zero of it 1 quarter. That's great. Everybody wins. Or you could use all of it on one client. And so you might use pieces on 10 clients, you might use it on 2 clients, you might use it on none. And that's where I really love running profitable businesses, because I can be gracious. I can be more flexible without compromise, because I operate in abundance. So I love your approach on being mission driven there. And I really am excited that you all understand these concepts from the framework well. I hope someone else who's watching this is inspired to say, hey, I can't answer all these questions like Jason did. Can't answer all these questions like Lane did. And really dig deep. Grab a copy if you need some help. AskingBetterQuestions.com, and using it to elevate their business so that they can be bold enough to tell people no. They can make decisions based on their mission and not on chasing money. Let the money chase them. I want to say thank you for sharing your time, your insights, your experience, and let's leave them. If you have a final word of wisdom for the people before we call it a night. Uh, Jason, Lena.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for just like, honey, thank you so much. You did a great job just articulating everything. Sometimes what we do can get lost. But the level of care is there. So I really appreciate that. What I would leave your audience with is really thinking about if you are a speaker or you're thinking of hosting speakers for an event, it's, knowing the goal, like the overarching goal and where each of these different speakers fall into that overarching goal. I think a lot of times you got different speakers who are talking about love and real estate and all these, and you're like, what is this? And it's so, but I think that when you can get really, really clear on the goal, just like how you just told us to break it down to two questions, getting really clear on the event goal. What is the mission? What is a win? So that the volunteers, everybody who's showing up, the vendors, the AV production team, that everybody knows what the goal is. And so every speaker knows how they plug into that goal. I think that right there, it's is what can separate any event from others. It's really staying on brand, but on goal. And when they walk away, they just feel really confident about what they just experienced.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Jason.
What she said.
I love
Thanks.
it. I'd love to have you back. We'll talk about your firm. Um,
Ooh,
yeah, definitely. Let's put on the calendar for December.
yeah.
And I've been entrepreneur on accident for about 10 years now, and on purpose for about five or six. And the most powerful thing that I can share with you, if you don't do anything else, is ask better questions.
Mhm.
Because you're like, well, I'm going to use AI in my business. Well, why? How? For what? Right? You're like, oh, we're going to launch this new service. To who? What's your rollout? Like, if you can ask better questions, it impacts every relationship. It impacts every corner of your life. It impacts your sales, your revenue and profit, your hiring. And so I'll say this is why the channel is called New Skills Be You. I firmly believe one new skill will change your life. And so for the next indefinite, one skill I'm helping business owners like yourself, to our listeners, thanks for y'all in the chat. Is we can teach you to ask better questions, better clients, you'll have better success and with a lot less stress. So my name is Bruce Hill, New Skill, New You. Look, I make sales simple for entrepreneurs just like you all. Remember, one new skill will change your life. Peace.